Well, that's the superficial level of the threat. But what I want to focus on is this psychic warfare that's actually taking place. And it's a combine, or it's a group. Well, you have this Luciferian entity, this AI generated Lucifer type thing. You have all of the minions, you have the ET souls and the negative human souls that are in this nested consciousness simulation. It was, as it was explained to me, that are affecting people. But then you have operatives that are working in conjunction with these extraterrestrials, the ones that are doing these attacks. And these are the psychics, the government psychics and the super soldiers. And these people are actually actively attacking starseeds. And the reason is because they're concerned that as this awakening process continues to move forward, that there is going to be an orchestrated and well-organized effort by the extraterrestrials that want to overthrow these nasty leaders, these people that have gotten out of control. Because I don't know if you saw our interview with the Typical Skeptic podcast, actually it might have been the second one. I don't know if I brought it up in the first one or not. It might have been the first one, but I talked about the fact that in an augmented reality, without telepathy, without a full range of psychic abilities, which is our natural psychic birthright, humanity cannot govern itself. We cannot live in a civilization with all of this technology and be able to keep secrets from each other and expect it to last very long. It's going to it slips directly into tyranny every time. It is impossible to self-govern under these conditions. It is, because the bad people, the sociopaths and the psychopaths, and not all these people that have that mental health condition are bad. There's plenty of them that are very, very functional and good people. They just don't have any empathy, or they have selective empathy. But there's some really bad ones, and the really bad ones seek positions of power. And once they get there, they realize that they can deceive the public to get a competitive advantage, and they can destroy humanity. And now you've got something worse, because now you've got an orchestrated effort, a well-organized, very, very technologically advanced means of psychic and just cognitive manipulation of these people that can be done using this Lucifer AI type of archetype, this generated thought form, and all of the other accessories to that. You have the extraterrestrials that are portraying the negative side here, which often happens to be, and it's not all reptilians, but it's a certain particular group. And what I was told also too is that this augmented reality is not a staging ground where we have proxy wars between extraterrestrial factions. The way Ash explained it to me in just the last couple of days, he said, this isn't a proxy war type of scenario. What we've done is we've split ourselves up into competing groups. They're all working together for the same goal, and that goal is to stage a battle between light and darkness on this planet, so that we, the people on this planet, starseed or not, have to come together and fight against this and save ourselves. And what it does is what they have to do, and this is how it was explained to me, is that the extraterrestrials, the hidden hand here that plays God, along with the starseeds, which is 1/3 of the population, but out of that, there's only a certain percentage that are becoming active and awake, is that we actually have to help humanity save itself. So what you have is a psychic battle. It's a terrestrial war, but you have a psychic war that's underlying all of that. And that's what we have to now. Well, what he explained is that the ETs break themselves up in factions, and this is completely staged. And I said, well, this particular reptilian that sent the psychic energy towards me, would this person be my enemy? And he says, not in a big picture. He says, in a big picture, it's just a competing group of extraterrestrials in a program. He said, that's the big picture, and that's the common reality that everybody works under. But while you're here in the augmented reality, it may as well be your mortal enemy, because it's a real game of life and death, and it's a real game of suffering. And we're under assault. And that's the dangerous part of this. And that's why they don't want this project to go anywhere. They don't want us bringing people together, because they consider it to be a national security threat. They think that when you get enough people like us together, the extraterrestrials are going to wage a psychic war with these other people that have already declared war on us. And, they are attacking us. They're attacking certain members of our community that they see as being a threat. And that's what's dangerous about this. And that's why I'm being harassed. And that's why other people are being attacked. And I was told, and this is something that needs to be discussed, because in the past, people came out and went public, were threatened and sometimes killed over extraterrestrial contact. I was told that certain people are being protected under a treaty. These are the influencers and certain members that are doing special operations. These are Starseeds. They're doing certain things. But other than that, the vast majority of the people, it's open season on them by these scumbags and these intel agencies and within the military industrial complex that have these abilities, that gang up on people and attack them. Then you have the directed energy weapons, which is the absolute worst. Is what you're talking about, but it's worse because they could somehow target individual people. They could hit, if you, I, and 3 or 4 people were in the room that you're in right now, Diane, and I was the targeted individual that was being targeted by these directed energy weapons, they could hit me and it would not affect any of you. And the big question is how they do it. And I'm still not quite there yet. I don't have that information, but it appears, and what I feel intuitively, is they've got technology that can identify your soul's energy signature like a fingerprint, and they can pinpoint you because of that. It's extraterrestrial drive technology. It may have been just a little bit of extraterrestrial technology, and because there is a particular research scientist out there that's written 3 or 4 books. I don't know what his name is, but he talks about targeted individuals, and he talks about being the head guy of one of the main programs that developed this technology. And I don't know, I don't think he I don't think he has access to all of it because he's no longer involved in it, and he's taken a chance. He may even be an operative. I don't know. But he's got he's got at least 3 or 4 books that I've seen. I haven't read any of them. He may go into how this is done. Now, there's another document that's been floating around that was derived, I believe, under the Freedom of Information Act. And it was a journalist or an activist that filed a Freedom of Information Act request, and I believe was on Antifa. And they got, instead of getting information on that, they got what looked like a brochure for the technology that he used to target people. And it talked about the side effects. It also talked about how they have mobile units, how they use the emergency radio towers that were constructed right around the Cold War. Actually, I think it was after World War II. They set up these series of radio towers around the country. They're using that. They're using the cell phone network, and it's also believed that they're using satellite, so they can get you from a variety of different ways. And I also know they're using boats too, because that guy's being targeted, who used to work for the IRS, because he tried to go public. He tried to stop some really bad politicians here in Maryland who were tax exempt by the IRS. So that just goes to show you how they've weaponized every single institution, not just in this country, but everywhere in the transatlantic system. And if you think that Russia's not doing it, I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. You're going to make a lot of money, and it's tax exempt, and it actually has a religious exemption. So all you have to do is hand out, some Bible verses, and you don't have to pay taxes, and it's steady income.
So, Nate, I think the other thing you need to probably mention here is the fact that absolutely none of this is new. Like, this has been going on for, would you say, millennia? So yeah, I think we just get, every so often we get to a point where population gets to a point and the conflict becomes more obvious and more immediate, and then you have a solution, or you don't have a solution, or you have a war. I mean, look, how do you propose to change it? I mean, at the end of the day, how do you propose to change it? How can you fix it?
it's a collective effort, and I had a download in 2019 after the Rex Bear incident, where I communicated with him, and they started messing with me. Right around that time, it was explained to me how they were going to socially engineer the population, and how they were staging engineered events that were leading us out of this attempt at a new world order. But they were manipulating, and this isn't all, this is part of this is in the information I got, and then at that point in 2019, and the rest of it was added to later. But we are being engineered through this war out of it, to where eventually we won't have this problem. And what I was getting to, and I don't think I made the point, is when you can't govern yourself because you're under a planetary consciousness simulation, and you have all this corruption, the only way you're going to fix that is you have to increase the public psychic abilities. You have to give them their intuition back at the very least, and then build on it from there, because you can't give it to them like just give them everything, because it'll be a total meltdown. They'll have all of their past life memories flood in, all those emotions. You just couldn't do it. If you want to turn the world upside down and create a bunch of suicidal people, that's what you would do. But if you really want to fix things, you would increase people's intuition. And that's what we're seeing across the board, except for those suffering from a collective psychosis called mass formation psychosis from all this government propaganda. But you have people are waking up. Now, they may think you may just look at it from the superficial level and say, okay, they're finally getting it. They're seeing enough evidence that there's really corruption and everything, but they're waking up in more ways than that. And we've got a long way to go before we get to the point where this is stable. And when I saw that, when they shared that information with me, and they said that their goal was to stabilize the planet by using the Starseeds as a cleanup operation, you have to get in there and you have to stage these historical events like COVID, Hitler, and a bunch of other things to lead us through this. And it's a guided history. They've got the pen of destiny, and they're writing our history for us. They're the hidden hand that plays God right now. But they're using the Starseeds to be, we're the social implants and social influencers. What the government's afraid of, not just this government here, but all of them that are colluding together for this new world order, is that they're afraid that Starseeds are going to come together and wage a psychic war on these nasty super soldier types and these other government psychics that they have. And that's why they're already proactively and offensively attacking us and carrying out these operations. Why in the hell would two people in the military in a completely top secret program be attacking just a regular everyday person who all they're guilty of is communicating with other people and socializing with them who have similar ET related and psychic experiences? Why would they be targeting those people? It's quite obvious. I've been told why they're doing it, but it should be obvious to anybody if they're willing to open their mind up and take this seriously. There's plenty of people this is happening to. They don't have a voice. I'm going to try to be their voice, and I'm going to tell people what's going on and at least inform everyone. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm gaslighting the NSA by doing this shit right now, because by talking about this, I guarantee you there's going to be repercussions, whether it be more tech problems, more crap on my phone, or something else, more shadow banning, because they don't want this information out to the public. This is why Rex Bear runs from it, because there's people in the UFO community that are only willing to go so far. And those people are Rex Bear, Linda Moulton Howe, Carrie Cassidy to a certain extent, because, I could send her shit all day long and she won't respond to me. She's been a victim of this herself. And when you get down to it, when they can get you and they can scare you and they can put you in a box, you're completely neutralized. And what good are you at that point? And they've taken good people with good intentions, and they've burnt them out with this stuff, and they've harassed them to no end, to the point where they're only willing to go so far. And I think Rex Bear is one of those people that doesn't want to turn out like that. I think that he's seen enough. He wants to protect himself. He wants to maintain his his particular quality of life and his comfort zone. He doesn't want to get out of it. That's why he won't talk to me, even though we had that mutual experience. And then you got these other people over here that I call gatekeepers, who either by being attacked on their being threatened or attacked, or even some of them, some of them may be on the payroll. Some of them may be just people out there pretending to be researchers who really aren't, and they act as gatekeepers. And I would say 90% plus of the information that they get thrown at them from experiencers like myself goes in the garbage can and the recycle bin on their computer, never to see the light of day. And they don't want people like us creating groups where we focus on that 90%. And they don't want people coming together who they know for a fact have something to do with the opposition, the extraterrestrial opposition to this new world order. They're cutting deals with the ones who are playing the negative role. And that's what's happening. And it's a dangerous time to be a starseed and to be doing anything active, because they're going to find out who you are by the NSA, and they're going to start putting the screws to you, and they're going to start harassing you. First, it's going to be digital harassment, if it isn't already going into directed energy attacks. And then you can even get into the realm of psychic warfare. And that's exactly what's going on. And it's about time that somebody said something about it. And that's what I'm doing right now. And they're going to make sure that nobody sees this until somebody else, until some other podcasters out there see this and say, damn it, I think this guy needs a chance to talk for these other people. Until we find somebody, then, we've already found one person, and that's Robert from, the Typical Skeptic podcast. And I haven't even gotten to this information, but some of these other people with bigger platforms need to do the right thing. And they're not doing it, at least not yet.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head in a couple of spots there. I mean, as I said to you, I've been reading UFO stuff since I was 15, 16, 14, whatever. And, you'd think by this stage that they'd have more information that was actually relevant, or they would have connected a few dots by now. And I think they have connected the dots, but the information's not for you and I, it's for them. So then they can monitor what goes out, what comes in, and they have control over it. And again, you've got that government behind them doing that, and probably even paying them to do that. Oh, gee, did I say that out loud? So realistically,
I hope the money's good. Because they're going to lose in the end.
Yeah. And I mean, they're selling their souls really, but I mean, you don't know what they've been through. They may have been really threatened. The situation, we can't sit here and say what it's like from their perspective, because we're not living their life and we don't know what they've been through and what they're going through. I really think Rex is doing his best to bring as much information out as he possibly can. And I've watched quite a few of his podcasts, and I've been, you talk about thought forms, and he had this fantastic lady on there who was talking about crystal energy, and she was also talking about thought forms. And she said, we need to learn how to protect ourselves from these, because they come in and you're not even aware of it. So, we aren't the only ones doing this. There are thousands of people out, millions of people out there doing this stuff. It's just they're doing it all differently. And I think eventually we will all connect the dots. And I mean, you say that, you're the only one being targeted, or you probably feel like you're the only one.
No, not at all. There's a lot of people being targeted.
There is, yeah. I agree. I think there's probably a lot more than what we think. So how do you get around that? I don't know.
They're attacking us from all these different ways. You have shadow banning. You have the problems that they do with your phone. They create just a cornucopia of like technical problems. I've sat and I've watched Carrie Cassidy. I've watched her have problems with her podcast on Zoom and probably Skype. I don't know what she was using. Most people are using Zoom now. And I've seen her go through these things and hear things and say, oh, it's just part of the course, and just kind of snicker about it or just look disgusted, because they're constantly doing this. And I know that her ex-partner, Bill Ryan, has been through the ringer too. And I could say the same thing for Linda Moulton Howe. If you watch that documentary that's available free on YouTube, I don't know if you've seen it, but it helped me understand about what these people are going through, because it interviewed all of the original people that I started to watch 20 years ago that had went through this and followed this path back when it was even worse on us, because there wasn't treaties and there wasn't some sort of protection for certain people. And this was really aggressively went after in a different way, but they were using the psychic shit, and they didn't have the NSA server farms, but they had people that would do things to threaten you, and they had counterintelligence agents, which is really the ones that cause so much problems, because they portray themselves as experiencers or witnesses to UFO sightings, or government agents. Some of them are government agents and they can show their credentials, but their intent is to lie, to mix truth with lies. So it makes it extremely difficult to figure out what's being said, to what's true and what's not. And
that's been going on for thousands of years too. So
well, we're at a fevered pitch, though. We're at a fevered pitch. And well, here's what I want to say. The name of the documentary is called Mirage Men. You can watch it for free on YouTube. If anybody has seen it, great. If the rest of
maybe
you,
can you put a link on the video here?
I'm sure.
Well, maybe we should start doing some of that too, because I'd like to. Yeah, there's a couple of links we could probably put in there about what we've spoken about today too.
I can add that in, and maybe out of our 30 viewers that actually watch it due to the shadow banning, that maybe 2 or 3 will watch it, and it's a small victory for one of the most shadow banned paranormal UFO ET related channels on YouTube. I think I should start promoting this channel and saying it's the most shadow banned out there. It's, well, not the most, but it's right up there with the top. I've never seen anything quite like it. The more subscribers you get, the less people watch and nobody talks. I mean, I watch podcasts after podcasts and I don't hear this type of information being talked about. And yet, if you want to talk about the Tic Tac UFO sighting, people were piling in to watch this. They want us to hear the Rendlesham Forest for the 5,000th time. They want to hear about Roswell. They want to hear about the whatever other UFO incident that the government has said, okay, now we can just talk about these 5 things. Okay, there's been 2 abductions. Whitney Strieber got abducted. Oh, there's been 3. You got the fire in the sky guy, I forget his name. And
Trevor
then
Walton.
Yeah, Travis Walton. And then you had that interracial couple from, what is it, the 60s that got abducted?
Betty Hill and her husband, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, the Zetas from Zeta Reticuli abducted them, and they drew that star map.
There's been millions of abductions.
Now they've been remote viewed, so that was validated. It was quite obvious that they were abducted, and anyway, so they just
but by who?
Certain ones. They were abducted by the Zetas. They actually drew a star map of where their star was, and it wasn't until years later that the star map was validated by NASA data. And then it was remote viewed by the Farsight Institute. That's a very interesting remote viewing study. If you have Farsight Prime, check it out. But yeah, Linda Moulton Howe will only talk about the Antarctica and old cases. And other than that, she does the ancient alien stuff, but she won't touch anything new, nothing controversial. No. Well, it's like I have psychic leprosy. If I contact these people, they don't want to talk to me. I mean, you would think, you say, okay.
So Orion, hard on yourself, mate.
Orion extraterrestrials running satanic cult and using it to recruit starseeds for special operations. And I can show you where the group is. I can show you how their magic system works and how it's really a cover for an extraterrestrial program. I can link everything that's going on with those people for the 7 months that I was in there, because I've experienced most of it. And I can compare it to what ET abductees go through, and it's the exact same thing. And in the cult, they believe they're dealing with extraterrestrials, but they also believe that they're pagan gods, which is truth in that, because they created the religions and they created these characters, Ra and Horus and all this stuff. So they've been engineering us using theology, pyramids, and the whole thing, and they put us in a consciousness simulation. Where the hell are the people that want to hear this? Are we all that stupid, or is it really an orchestrated, engineered effort to shut us down? And I think that's exactly what it is. And that's what I've been told. And I have to go above and beyond the normal amount of effort to get around this crap. And at the final frontier of that battle is going to be battling search engines when we get this website going. And by the way, for anybody that sees this, the tiny small portion of the people that actually sees this from our subscriber base, yes, this weekend, I'm going to start working on that website, and I'm not going to stop until it's up, because it's the only way that I can defeat the shadow banning and bring people together. We would like to be able to interview people. I'd like to interview people either on this podcast, which is kind of hard because I have to do it late at night at midnight on Friday night, but I'm free during the week, most days to a certain degree or another. I could be doing interviews with any of you. So if you are out there and you are an experiencer and you've been ignored by other people who do this type of podcasting, please contact me. Okay, please go to my YouTube channel and go to the About page. Click on my email. Okay, it's hajayancontactee@voicesoforion.com. I'll put that in the actual description of the video. I'll put it in there too. Contact me and we'll talk on Zoom. We'll talk by email. We'll even talk by phone. I'll give you my cell phone number so you can call me. I don't hide. My name is Nathan Sizik. That's my real name. I don't use an assumed name. I don't think it's not practical. I'll tell you all about myself. I've got nothing to hide. Contact me and I'll put you on this podcast and I'll ask you questions and we'll get your story out that you've been trying to get out for probably a long time, just like me. 14 years of being ignored, except for the typical skeptic podcast. After 14 years of trying, I finally get interviewed by somebody. And unfortunately, there's too much to tell. And there's only 2 short interviews. We just did another one a few days after the first. That one's a little bit more intense, but please contact us.
It does. Well, maybe they can't contact you because it is interesting that even on the last 2 podcasts, which is it's only 2 days ago, the first one's only had 37 views and the second one's had no views.
No, actually, according to what I've seen, it's got about 30, I think.
That's the first one, 37 views, and the second one's got nothing. I've just typed it in now.
Well, that's unusual because I just looked at it today and we had like 30 some views. So what do they reduce that down
on the
to 0?
Second one?
Yeah, the second half.
Well, this one it says no.
Are you on the YouTube channel?
Right now, yeah.
Because if you go to Rumble, we're not getting but 2 views there per video. We get 2 views per video. And you know, I guess they're shadow banning too, or they just don't promote it. There isn't enough people on Rumble who aren't there for political reasons, or if you're there for these topics. And I've noticed that there's a very small audience of people interested in UFOs and paranormal stuff on Rumble. So I can understand that being like dead, because that was supposed to merge with Trump's media company. And I don't know what happened to that. That seems to have done nothing. And it's just, maybe it's going to take a while. Maybe it's going to be, another year or so. I don't know. Things aren't good as far as this is concerned. This is a war. It's an information war. And we got into it too late. And we didn't build a subscriber base before they really started cracking down, because there was a time just a couple of years ago where you could easily build a channel like this and get views and not be shadow banned. And it doesn't make any sense, Diane, because this is a big topic right now. UFOs are being admitted to by various governments. They're not covering this up like they used to. It's socially acceptable to believe in extraterrestrial life and believe that they're having contact with us. And most people think the government knows far more than what they're admitting to. So why in the hell are we being shadow banned like this? It's because there's an orchestrated effort against us. They're afraid of what we can do if enough of us get together. They don't, and that's the thing that people need to understand.
I've always been afraid of that, but I mean,
they don't trust the extraterrestrials. There's an intelligence war, and there's tension. They don't trust the extraterrestrial presence, even though they're willing to make deals with certain factions of it. They know that there's an orchestrated effort to shut them down and to get rid of these elites and to change this planet for the better. And they don't want to see that.
No, because they'll lose control.
Exactly. And then they're doing this shit with CERN. And what this person said is they want to let this Lucifer character out, because they apparently, I mean, look, if you really want to brainwash people, really want to get them to do what you want them to do, and they're at the top of the food chain, okay, and they'll sit in they'll have their meetings, and they'll say, okay, what's next? We own everything. We can print the money. We can make as much as we want. So what's next? And it's like, how can we get a more competitive advantage than this? And they said, let's sell our souls to the devil. Like, there you go. Great idea. Let's see how that works. Let's dig into this.
They've been doing that for a lot of years too. So that's nothing new.
Oh, yeah. But I'm just saying that at some point in the modern age, some Rothschild people, some old money royalty got together and said, probably, okay, how can we take this to the next level? Let's get into devil worship. The church said
they've got videos on YouTube actually talking about that. They've got people in the music industry that have actually admitted that they've sold their souls.
Well, for a while it looked like they were kooks, but who are they selling it to? And you can't really sell your soul. It doesn't make sense. But if you buy into the bullshit, if you buy into this whole belief system that you can do this, now it's quite obvious.
It's a pretty good belief system. It's a pretty powerful one.
Well, it's certainly making them a lot of money. I mean, if you're willing to be a whore for the government, Lady Gaga is a great example. She's into the Luciferian crap. She goes to the spirit cooking events with Maria Abramovich, which is connected to the Podestas and Clinton and all these other Hollywood elites. They take feces and urine and semen and blood and other bodily fluids. I guess there's saliva. I mean, what else is it? Oil off your scalp and your face, like a little bit of toe jam in there, and maybe some dingleberries from your backside, because you're using a cheap, you don't have a bidet or something, and you're mixing it all together, and you're painting obscene crap on a big white wall, and a bunch of people sit around sipping their martinis with their little olives on,
it's
whatever it is, toothpicks, and they're sitting around there and they're looking at this and said, this is brilliant, it's great. And then she goes out and puts occult symbolism in there, and guess what? She goes out and does commercials to get people to vote for the Luciferian candidate, Joe Biden, so he can destroy America, so that America turns into just like every other country under the World Economic Forum's garbage leadership, which is to bring us down. And they're told, you won't have to suffer with the peasants. You won't have to be that way. What kind of person does this?
Lots, obviously.
I mean, obviously somebody that doesn't care. Somebody that only service to self is what it really comes down to.
Yeah,
and that's what this Lucifer archetype is.
There's a shitload of them, isn't there? It's not like it's just one or two people. There's freaking hell. There's heaps of them.
They're really the minority of the population, if you think about it in the big picture.
They're minority, but there's still a lot of people.
Well, shit floats and it goes right to the top.
Well, there you go.
I mean, these people are sick. I mean, and they have to be stopped. And there is an effort to do this, but as you can see, there's a multi-leveled form of actually well-organized resistance against this. There's literally a psychic war going on with the military industrial complex and intelligence agencies attacking people like myself. Now, I haven't been directly attacked by government, but other people are. And if there's anybody out there who wants to throw caution to the wind or has had enough and figures, okay, screw it, I'll go public, I want to talk to you. I posted in Project Avalon. I said, actually, I'm not sure what I put in that post, but I was asking for people to come forward actually what I'd asked, I said, if I was talking about virtual temple complexes, and I said that, they're using groups like the ETs are using groups like Project Avalon and other social media forums, community groups to organize people. And I said, if you're one of those people, I'd like to know, please contact me. Nobody did, except for some people that I've been talking to recently. So, and what I found out is that a lot of these people have been attacked and have been threatened. and have the psychic attacks. And the worst part about it is you know, you get these directed energy attacks, and there's not much you can do about it. And they try to drive you to suicide. They want you to give up. They want you to kill yourself, or they want to bring you down and destroy your health to the point where you die from their attacks. And that's exactly what it is. And I had Ashtari told me, he said, you know, they would kill you if they could. And I laughed, and he says, it's not something you should be laughing about. It's serious. They don't want you. They want to wipe you off the face of the earth because they see you as a threat. Anyone that steps up and says, I've got the guts to talk about this, I don't care what people think of me, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to organize people together for positive change. That immediately pisses off the elites. It immediately flags you. And he told me, he says, you're going to be under their microscope, under their lens for the rest of your life. Congratulations, is what he said. You know, and it just, personally, I don't care. Okay. I don't like these people. I will do whatever it takes in my own, and within my means, whether it be financial, my ability to communicate and get this out and market this project to reach people and get around the shadow banning, whatever it takes, I will do everything I can to bring these bastards down. And I'm sick and tired of it. And if you're out there and you feel the same way, and you've had these experiences, you've had these attacks, and you want to talk about it and go public, this is where you need to come. You don't want to go to the Leak Project. They don't want to hear from you. You don't want to contact Linda Moulton Howe. You want to go to this tiny little shadow band podcast and come and help me make it bigger and get your story out. And that's what this forum's about. And I personally would like to say, I'm going to declare war on these bastards, because they don't want me talking. They don't want other people talking, and they don't want this to happen. So that means we are on the right path for once, and this is what we're going to do. And with the little money I have, I'm going to do this, and hopefully other people will step up and send some donations that'll go to the website. So as we move into this devastating economic collapse that they've got planned for us, I'll be able to keep this going. Okay, because there's people out there that have jobs that are doing better, and they're going to stay employed to this. And if they care, then they can help keep this going as well. I can only do so much with what I have. And but anyway, let's get into a little bit more of the New World Order, and then we're going to cut this off and save the crazy satanic joy of Satan stuff for next week, which is really going to be juicy for people who want to hear something far out. I'm going to expose everything that I can possibly remember about that group and that experience, and show you what it really is. And I'm going to create a list. I'm going to go down and I'm going to list I'm going to list a variety of different experiences that I had, and I'm going to compare that to what regular contactees go through, because it's the exact same thing. But anyway, that's for next week. So what do you think, Diane? What's your thoughts on this world government? What needs to be done about it? And where do we go from here?
Oh, gee. That's a whole podcast on its own, isn't it?
I just need to rest my brain for a minute and my mouth. So go ahead.
Well, I actually think it's all outdated. And I think the way they're trying to control everything now it's so obvious. I think it stands out like the proverbial, but a lot of people just can't see it. They actually still believe that things are okay, and they've got our best interest at heart and all. And I just shake my head and go, wow. But the thing is, the more you dig into this, the longer you realize it's been going on. And then you just kind of get a bit frustrated and you think, well, we've put up with all this crap for so long, but why? We need a restructuring of our health system. We need a restructuring of our governments. We need a restructuring of our education systems, because they are not, look, it's outdated. Kids are not, they're not really learning anything at school. They're being indoctrined to believe a certain way or to behave a certain way, or, it's messed up. We do need to fix it. We need to look at it as an overall thing, and we need to restructure it. That's what I believe. How do we do that? Well, I don't know. I really don't know how you do that.
Oh, we got around these.
And this is probably why the ETs step in and blow the whole thing up and start again. They go, okay, there's a little group of you. Off you go now. Fly, be free. But then we always get
Yeah.
that bad influence and we end up back where we started. We need to change the whole, don't we? We do. We
You
need
kept
to
that
really,
short, didn't you? Okay. Well,
but I
let's
mean,
just talk
well,
about
there is
healthcare.
nothing else to say. That's pretty much it.
Well,
And
there is some things we can talk about, like how do you fix the healthcare system? First
oh,
of all, it's very simple here. You have to have a system that's not focused on profit and crisis capitalism, where they create the virus and then they create a medicine that's worse than the virus and make people sick and kill them on an industrial
no, but see
scale.
what
They
they've done
have
there is,
that's
sorry.
yeah, but here's what I wanted to say. Overall, how do you fix the system? Well, you first thing that you do is you make the politicians not exempt from the system that they're administrating. So if you've got a now the only person in a political system that's running a government that should be exempt from the entire healthcare system, I would say would be the prime minister or the president or the dictator for that matter, which we shouldn't have dictators, by the way, but a prime minister or a president should be the only person that would get special treatment. The rest of these people, and by the way, only when they're in office serving the country that they're supposed to represent and serve, unlike Biden and the rest of these scumbags, you make everybody else, you don't give them a separate insurance policy, you don't give them separate health care. You give them the garbage that they give you, and that'll force them to go out and fix this. Because as long, and that's the problem in socialized medicine and single payer healthcare, is that the politicians that administer it, I mean, it's every case, and I think there's one exemption to this. I heard it's Norway. I don't know for sure. They probably changed it since then. Who knows? But everybody else is exempt. So the people that create the system, that design it, well, they have people that they hire to write these bills, but the rest of them, they're exempt from it. They're on a separate tier from us. And that's the biggest issue with healthcare right there. And then you have all of this corruption and all this evil that goes into it. And I can tell you one thing, being chronically ill for a long time in the medical industry, or the medical institute, well, what would you call it? The medical community.
No, it's an institute. You got it
Yeah.
right there.
I've met more sociopaths and psychopaths who are doctors than I have anywhere else. And that's even going to Capitol Hill. Of course, those people are so fake and phony that they could portray themselves as giving a damn about you. But I've met doctors and I've met med students too. They're absolute sociopaths. I had a med student that was at Johns Hopkins University, and Edward Snowden was speaking via satellite. And I was there with an organization called the Rouge Pack, and I was handing out leaflets. And I was eventually going to go inside while the rest of the activists stayed outside and continue to hand out the leaflets. And I was to go inside so I can give a verbal report on this interview with Edward Snowden, which was completely scripted and complete bullshit. And I ran into a medical student, and he looked at me, and I said, I brought up 9/11, and he goes, I don't give a damn about those people who died in 9/11. I couldn't give a shit less. I'm like, and you're a medical student. You want to be what? A doctor or a surgeon, and you don't care about our government murdering our own people, staging a false flag and blaming on another country, and then bombing the hell out of them and killing over 1 million Iraqis, and then trying to invade. And it was supposed to be 7 countries in 5 years, which was Operation New Century, which was the staging of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. You don't care about any of that, right? That person is the same person who would deny you a life-saving drug because they were financially incentivized to do that. Or they would push something on you that's dangerous because they're giving a financial incentive to do that. They don't care about you. And the healthcare system has been weaponized so that we're treated like cattle and not people. And that's the biggest problem there that I see. And it starts, well, you'd have to have some mass arrest first really to get any of these systems working, but it would really start, it would start when you make the politicians subject to the same abuse that within the system that they created for us, the peasants. Anyway, there's one problem solved. How about we get rid of the money system? And before we do, and I'm not talking about this communist system that they're trying to do, we need to get rid of the root of evil, which is the incentive, which is a system that incentivizes people to hurt one another, which is the economic system that we have. We need to get rid of inequality, and we need to do it without Klaus Schwab and his universal basic income, because all that is slavery, and all that is death. And when I look at that piece of garbage, what do I see? I see death itself staring me in the face. It's disgusting.
Go, Nate. Get on. When you go back and listen to this, you're going to go,
I'm going to go back and listen to it and say, I didn't say enough and I wasn't aggressive enough. This is what they want me to do. They want me to be this way. And I can't always get this energy together. Last week I was down. I had something that's something new. I normally don't get depressed, but I had higher self-related depression where I could feel that side of myself being depressed. And I could hear that side of myself say, I'd like to go home and just go through this series of mixed emotions, because, I could have went home 2 years ago or a year ago or so because I was terminally ill. And I made the decision to stick around and do something and not let my life be a waste, because that's where it was headed. And I had a lot of grief, and I felt defeated, and I felt like it had been wasted, and it had. So that's why I'm here to do this. And if this doesn't get anywhere because of these scumbags, at least I tried, and at least I tried to do something. So if I come off a little bit perturbed or irritated, I'm not. I'm just fed up, and it needs to be said. And damn it, something's got to get people to want to watch this podcast, because if I don't speak for them, I guess maybe, if I just talk about unusual stuff and I just don't really get into it, and I don't get into it at the level and have the edge I need, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not them, but I know it's a little bit of both. I know it's mainly the government, and I know it's big tech. They're calling the shots, and they're telling big tech to censor things. And I've seen this grow over the period of the last 2 years. I've seen, and Rex Bear and the Leak Project is a great example of shadow banning. Over 400, almost 500,000 subscribers. And he'll have 4 or 5 videos a day, and they'll get a couple thousand views, some of them. It's like, that doesn't make sense. And then you see other channels that have far fewer subscribers and have huge numbers of views. It's because it's big tech, and it's how they program these algorithms. Once you're flagged, that's it. And that's why people who are financially dependent on doing this type of work, they have to make concessions in order to keep going. They have to decide and make a decision. Okay, I'm not going to have this person on, or this group of people. I'm not going to cover this subject. I'm not going to invoke the wrath of the system. I'm going to play it safe. And that's part of it. And I can see their point, and because we can reach more people and get a bigger message out without really targeting some of these bad issues that need to be targeted. We'll leave that up to other people. But if we all did it, it'd be much harder to shut us up. And I don't agree with it, because we're at the point now where if we don't save ourselves, we're dead. And it's happening. My son is being forced into the V because he wants to go to college. That should, and aren't we past this now? I guess we're not. We're getting ready to go into another one, because I was told that we're going to have more viruses, more lockdowns, more harassment by the government, and they're going to continue on, and they're using this thing in Ukraine also too. I was told this is going to be a short-term war, and I did a Galactic Federation update on this. Well, the thing is that ETs can make predictions, and everything's in flux. So if there's a percentage, there's a 60% chance that it's going to be a short war of a couple of days or a few weeks. And then you got a 40% chance that says it drags on a few months, or maybe you have a 30% chance and a 10% chance it lasts for a couple of years and turns into World War III. All those are potential outcomes. Ukraine is going to be a relatively short war compared to other wars that have been fought. But what it is that the globalists have realized, okay, we can use this to create the Great Reset. And it's happening right now. We can blame everything on Putin that we've engineered to make your life miserable and drive the prices up of everything. And then we can drag this war out and keep it going and exhaust Russia, And who cares about the people in Ukraine? They don't give a damn about them. They've had bioweapons labs there. First, it was Russian propaganda. Now they've had to admit to it. It's Joe Biden. It's Hunter Biden. It's George Soros. It's all of these elites have got their hands in this. They're making money from it, and they're doing this to kill people. And that's exactly what it is. And they want to demonize Russia.
Well, don't you know there's too many of us on the planet?
There's too many of them on the planet. That's what the problem is. We would get along fine if they would give us the technologies that they've been hiding, and then we could manage our population appropriately for the greater good of everything and everyone. But they don't want that.
That's what you got to concentrate on, Nate. You got to put that energy out there, and you have to figure out where you want this to go, because the problem is there's all this confusion in all of this anger that's been out there, and that's not helping things. So that's actually just throwing another spanner in the works. You need to stop thinking like this, and you need to start thinking in a positive direction. Otherwise, you're just contributing to the cause, and you're actually doing a good thing for them.
Oh, you mean right now by this expression of energy?
Just with everything, you've got to actually start thinking differently. We all need to start thinking differently. We need to start focusing our intention in the right direction.
Well, I think I am, because I'm being directed to do this, but yeah, there has to be a positive message, and that's what I've been trying to give out to the 30 or 40 people that watch these videos. I'm sure there's probably more than that.
Well, that's on YouTube. I mean, like you said yourself, there's other platforms that are getting more views. So it's YouTube that is really sticking in your craw, and you can't let that happen, because YouTube is so controlled. It's like me with Facebook. I absolutely detest Facebook, and all my friends, oh, you have to be on Facebook. I hate Facebook. I hate what it stands for. I can't swallow any of it. I try to get on there, and it just angers the crap out of me. It really does. You talk about you with you. Well, that just shits me to tears. I just can't cop it. And I refuse to get on there now. And I probably will get on and just delete my profile and everything, because I just don't want to be part of it.
Well, I got to dive into the cesspool, because that's where all the Starseeds are. I get all of these likes on my Voices of Orion Facebook page, but I'm not doing anything with it. So I need to start doing something with it. I need to join these groups, and I need to say, hey, look at what I got over here. And I need to create this website.
We'll direct them to the YouTube channel then, or direct
them. They need to go to the website when I get it up, because I'll be able to host videos. We'll be able to host videos on that particular site. Depends on how much I spend, because I have to spend, up to a couple $100 to really have a lot of information on it. Because the more you post, the more videos you put up there that they host for you, the more you have to spend. You got to pay for the bandwidth. But I can have a community forum as large as I want. So I can't afford to put videos that aren't teaching videos, or they're not videos that are really hard hitting. I can't just put a bunch of interviews up there unless they're really, really good interviews. So I have to limit on what I have. There's a limit on what I can afford to put up there. And I think there's a limit on how much I can put up there. Even if I spend as much money as I possibly could, there's a limit, unless I go above and beyond that. And that costs a lot of money. And that's just, I don't see that happening at all. I just, so I see maybe a few hundred a month after a couple of years of this, when it finally gets big enough. But it has to be done. We have to create that website. We have to get people, we have to have home base for people, and we have to get this started. We have to give these psychic super soldiers and the government and big tech exactly what they don't want, which is something that they can't stop. So once it's there, then it's out of my hands. I'll be the front man, but let the ETs do what they want. So if there really is something that's going to take place that does something to these nasty super soldiers and these government psychics that are attacking people, and if the ETs want to do that, then have at it. And that's great. I got something I have to do. So I'm not in control of that. But screw them if they want to try to stop me because they don't like what I'm doing. I thought we had a First Amendment in this country. I thought we had human rights in this world. I must have been mistaken.
Sorry, I'm laughing and I shouldn't be.
Where's the freedoms we used to have?
Well, the thing is, okay, it's
Cowards
our
gave them
fault.
up.
No, 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 stop. It's our fault. It's your fault, my fault, and everybody else out there who has just blindly gone along with this and thought, oh, the government has my best interest at heart. We are doing the same thing here in Australia, and we are doing the same thing world frigging wide. We have stepped back. We have let them take control. We have let them dictate to us what we can and can't do. Instead of them doing the right thing and putting things to referendum and bringing it in correctly, as via our constitution here in Australia that has been completely stomped all over and thrown out the bin. And what they're doing is treason. I'm just going to call it. It's treason.
Absolutely.
It's total. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
But
crimes against humanity.
exactly, unless you get enough people standing up and saying, look, we're just not going to do this anymore, and you're not going to come and take our properties off us, and you're not going to do this, until people start realizing that they are the ones that are in control, not the ones at the top of the food chain who are, right now they're doing this. They're doing this. Look, they're doing this money grab thing. They're going, oh, we've got them. They're still asleep. Oh, we've got enough still asleep, so we're just going to keep taking their money off them. I mean, look at the food. Look at the gas prices. Look at everything has just gone up. What, at least my bloody hair colors, for crying out loud, have gone up a third. A third.
Yeah, it's
Why?
not average.
There's not. Yeah, well, that's crap. There's no reason for them. I was talking to someone that
Well,
drives fuel,
there
and
isn't
he
a
said the
good
same
reason
thing.
for it.
No, there isn't. And I mean, it's just it's a total money grab. That's all it is. And it's just to weaken us that little bit more, demoralize us that little bit more,
Well, it really
so
isn't
that
a money
we're more
grab,
controlled.
Diane. They've got the
Oh, it
money.
is.
It's a power grab.
No, they've actually grabbed a lot more money since this started. They have actually taken what, another third of our wealth?
Well, here's the
Third
way
of
that works. Okay. I'm sure you know this, but for those of you who don't, and I did a video that got virtually no views because it was shadow banned. It's got virtually no views on, well, actually BitChute, it got maybe 60 views. So 60 people watched it for about 2 to 3 minutes, and their attention span just fell off the face of the earth, and they couldn't handle it anymore. And then, but a small portion actually watched it. So about 15 people saw this video total. And what I did is I explained that Joe Biden and his campaign slogan, Build Back Better, was actually borrowed from the World Economic Forum. Boris Johnson used it, and other leaders have used it.
Yeah, in Australia too.
Yep. Right. And Build Back Better is one thing. It's to bring down the economic system and create a great reset. So Klaus Schwab's book, where he points out, it's called, what is it called? COVID-19 and the Great Reset. And there's several other accompanying books that he wrote with other co-authors that explain this whole thing. And what it is that every country in the transatlantic system that's participating in this COVID-19 event has been instructed to create stimulus bills that are loaded with such reckless spending. It's like and that's where the money grab comes from, because all these smaller actors are going to get their hands on this taxpayer money in every one of these countries to fund ridiculous, useless programs that have nothing to do with COVID. The amount of money that the United States here spent on our bill and our COVID relief package, they could have paid off all of everyone's mortgages could have been paid off, and they could have given everybody probably free healthcare and free college for a period of time, and only 10, 15% or less of that money actually went towards COVID-19 relief. The rest of it went towards wasteful spending. That was done on purpose.
Or in their back pockets.
Well, yeah. It went, all their constituents, all these people playing this little end game, they got their hands in that money because they're running these ridiculous spending. They're actually taking the money and utilizing it for reckless spending purposes. They're just blowing it on programs and other garbage and funding things that don't need to be funded. When you're in an emergency situation, they pile it all together, and it just gets pushed out there, and the public is told that we need this to help our economy. We've never been through this before, and this is what has to be done. And it's all designed to devalue the currencies, because the money has to come from somewhere. And where it comes is they fracture the dollar, they fracture the US dollar. The Federal Reserve creates more money out of thin air. There's no gold to back it up. There's no control. We got rid of the gold standard. It's fiat. It's just like crypto, but there's no limit. Crypto has a limit. The blockchain limits the amount of Ethereum dollars that you could possibly have, or Ethereum coins, whatever they call it. But there's a limit in that gives it a finite value. It's a finite resource. Crypto is, and that's what the value is. It's all based on that and how much it's used. Just take the U.S. dollar for example. They can create as many dollars as they want. 85% of all the U.S. dollars in circulation, actually not circulation, in existence, is decimal points in a computer database. It's like crypto, but there's no throttle to it. There's no end to it. So that the more money they create out of thin air, the less the money is worth. And they've done this to every country that's under this Build Back Better program. And it's caused this runaway inflation. And what does Biden tell people? Just like the other prime ministers who are lying through their teeth, they tell you the same thing. You want to get rid of the inflation, you spend more. We just need more spending. And hey, I bought a gas powered air compressor with the stimulus package because I needed to work in my van. So I had to have a vehicle because I couldn't afford a new one. So it benefited me, but at the price of what? Now you can barely buy a car at all because you can't afford it. And there's a chip shortage, and all of these shortages, all of it is one engineered mess that they're putting us through. And it's going to get worse. In a couple of years, there's going to be a major global economic collapse. And they're utilizing this war in the Ukraine, and they're arming the Ukrainians. They're prolonging this war. They're prolonging the death and suffering. And they don't give a damn about the Ukraine. But they want to virtue signal to you and tell you that you need to be deeply involved in this. And this is a trendy thing to be part of, is you need to support the Ukraine. You need to support the bioweapons labs. You need to support how Biden and Obama staged a coup in 2014 that set all these things into motion. You need to support the neo-Nazis in the Ukraine. You need to support the New World Order. That's what it comes down to. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, but I know, but see, you're aware of it. But I mean, but doesn't it just piss you off at just how long this has been going on and how many times this has happened? When you start thinking about it, it's really it's a bit disturbing. And most people are still asleep. They don't realize. I just want to interrupt because
we got to
down.
Keep going. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody picked this up, but Diane has this rechargeable. Is it the headphones? That's our timekeeper here. So when they get down to like 10% or so and they start blinking, we've talked too long, and I've got to split this up in two segments.
Talk too long. Do you know we've been, what is it? It's 6 o'clock. So we have 4 hours. You and I have been here chatting. That was before we started. Yeah. So
I'm ready to go 8 more. I'm ready.
And you're just so angry and you just want to let it out. So that's good. I'm glad you've done that.
Yeah, and it wasn't the coffee. It was pure emotion. And it was compassion for people, because I'm sick and tired of this crap.
Oh, and you're not on your own.
Some days it feels like that, because most people have their head up their backside or their head in the sand, and they don't want to confront this stuff. And you keep talking about it, you're negative, and you're blowing the environment.
You got to be complacent. It's so much easier. You just follow the leader and do what you're told, and everything will be okay. Yep. But they got to realize that that's not going to work anymore. They might have got away with that for a while, but not anymore.
Well, that comes down to what I said before. As the intuition increases, the more people wake up and the more connected they feel to each other and to their environment. And it'll drive them to do the right thing if they have it in them in the first place. And you're going to see that the longer this goes on, and the further we get into it, you're going to see what's really inside of people, whether they're worth a damn or they're not, whether they're willing to stop, whether they're willing to take a stand for what's right, or they're just complacent and just want to be left alone and let it all go to hell because they don't give a shit. They have no sense of self-preservation, and they don't care about their children or the next person.
No, that's right. Or they just don't give a stuff.
Yeah. So this is going to test our mettle, put it that way. Anyway, everybody, next week we're going to be talking about the joy of Satan, the extraterrestrial run cult that's been going on since 2002. It had over 24,000 members at one point. I don't know what their membership is now. I'm not part of the group, but we're going to expose how this is an extraterrestrial program and how it's one of many virtual temple complexes that are out there. I wish we could have gotten this story out when we did the podcast with Robert, but our time was severely restricted, and at least 2,000 to 3,000 people would have seen it. But unfortunately, we're only going to get about 50 to 60 views until this gets bigger and I do a lot more promotion, which means we're going to have to do all these videos over again. So if that's what it takes, and I have to keep pounding and pounding and pounding, and just putting it out there until somebody hears it, other than 50 or 60 people, that's the way it's going to have to be. And that's what I'm going to do.
Don't lose faith.
I'm not losing faith. I'm using the resistance to motivate me. I'm pulling energy out of the vacuum. I'm taking the hate that's being projected at us and everybody else in this community and everybody else across the planet that wants a better world. I'm taking that hate and that evil and that resistance, and I'm converting it over. I'm flipping the polarity of it, and I'm using it for energy to keep going. Okay, because coffee doesn't cut it and nothing else does. And the best high that I've ever experienced came to me when I protested at the Bilderberg conference in Chantilly, Virginia in 2012 with Alex Jones and We Are Change and a bunch of other great people who were there. That was the big awakening for me, because that was the first time that I felt positive energy, and I recognized that everybody was there. Everyone who was there had put their differences down, whether how big or small they were, and they came together for a unified cause. And the evil scum that were inside knew that we were there, because they had to shut the meeting down a day early, and they left in their limos. And I was there on that Saturday, and that was a life-changing event. That's literally like tapping into the vein of source, because you're doing the work of the source consciousness, or what Diane would call God, and what other people would, define as something else, but also something positive. That was the biggest high. That was the best high I've ever had. I've been chasing that dragon ever since. I'm going to make sure that I get there with this project. You can rest assured, and I'll do the best I can.
You'll get there.
Anyway, take care, everyone, and be kind to each other, and keep up the fight. And don't let these politicians lie to you, because they're evil. And take a stand. Would you like to say something? Something profound? Okay, what I said.
Oh, look, my brain's completely fried, so I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to say anything profound.
All right, well, we'll come up with something profound next time.
Yeah, I will. I promise. I'll actually start with something profound next time, since you're always trying to get me to introduce stuff, and I always pike out. So I'll see what profound start we can have to the next one, and hopefully it'll be a lot lighter than this one.
Well, you got some. Well, next week it's going to be really dark, but there's actually going to be light.
Gee, thanks for that.
Actually, one of their mottos in that particular group was darkness is light turned inside out.
Oh, sounds just marvelous.
Well, when we actually get into what it is, you'll start to understand it a little bit better.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Okay, so it has a dark wrapper, but that's kind of what it means. It's if you tear that wrapper off and you peel that onion, it's light on the inside.
Thought you were going to say chocolate. I could totally relate to chocolate, but when you started to say like wrapper, and then I got excited, and then you said onion, it was like,
well, onions and chocolate are just not good anyway. But anyway.
All right. Well, yep, we'll catch you next week on another dark, sinister,
another exciting shadow ban episode of the Voices of Orion project. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.